I wanna tell you something about the goodness of God that I know to be true. Not because it feels true every morning, but because I've tested it in the mornings. It didn't feel true, and it held. The goodness of God is not a feeling I receive, it's a fact I return to. And returning to a fact feels different than receiving a feeling, because feelings require conditions, and the goodness of God does not. I declared it in the hospital waiting room. I declared it in the year the business failed. I declared it in the months when heaven felt like a recording, and the declaration landed differently in those rooms than it does in the easy ones. But it landed, it's true in all of them, which is the only data that matters. And I wanna tell you something about Psalm 34:8, which says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Taste, an active verb, not received passively. Taste, bring yourself to it, engage with it, actively encounter it and see what you find. Good whether I feel it or not, that's the testimony I'm standing on. Good whether I feel it or not depending on the morning's condition. Taste and see, that's the instruction, not wait and feel. Good whether I feel it or not, I've tasted it in the worst conditions, and it's still good. It's still good. I tasted it in the season when the diagnosis arrived, and I couldn't construct a narrative where it was obviously good. And I declared it anyway, not as performance, as the decision to stand on something more reliable than my ability to see the goodness from where I was standing. And I'm standing here, which is on the other side of that season, and I can see things now that I couldn't see then. And the goodness that I declared without seeing was producing something I couldn't perceive while it was being produced. Taste and see, not feeling no taste requires the approach and the active engagement with the goodness that is present, whether or not the conditions support the feeling. Good whether I feel it or not. Taste and see, not wait and feel. Good, good whether I feel it or not. I've tasted it in the worst, and it helps. Still good, still good. I wanna be clear about something that could be misunderstood in what I'm saying. I'm not saying pretend it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying perform the peace when the peace isn't present. I'm saying under the hurt, under the season, under the morning that doesn't feel like goodness. The goodness is structural, it's in the foundation, not the weather. And you can't acknowledge the weather and stand on the foundation simultaneously. And that simultaneous standing is the most honest and most powerful version of faith I have ever practiced. So I declare it today, not because today is easy, because it's true today. The same way it was true in the hard ones. And I've stopped waiting for the feeling to confirm the fact. I let the fact carry the feeling through the mornings when the feeling doesn't show up first.
Good whether I feel it or not.
Still good,
Still true.
good in the hospital,
Good in the waiting room.
good in the year it didn't feel like it. Still good,
Taste and see.
still good.
Still good.
His goodness holds. I had a blueprint, a very detailed one, with timelines and milestones, and a specific version of how everything was supposed to look. By the time I was here, and I am here, and it doesn't look like the blueprint. And I wanna tell you what happened when I finally let go of the blueprint. The blueprint was built Over years of careful planning, and the planning felt like faithfulness. It felt like being a good steward of the future I was responsible for. And I wanna be careful here, cause planning is not wrong, stewardship is not wrong. What was wrong was the grip, the specific grip of a man who had built the blueprint so carefully that the blueprint had become the measure of success, and God had become the means of achieving the blueprint. And those are not the same relationship, and something kept not matching the blueprint, and I kept revising the blueprint to accommodate the not matching, until I ran out of revision and stood in a year that bore no resemblance to what I had designed. And I had two choices:
Let go of the blueprint.
that took everything I had.
Let go of the blueprint.
Not the dream, the design. Not trusting God to help me build it, trusting God to build what He designed.
Let go of the blueprint.
And discover what was in His hands when mine were full of paper.
Let go
of the blueprint, let go. When I let go of the blueprint, my hands were empty for a season that felt longer than it probably wasn't. Empty hands after full hands have a specific quality of absence that is uncomfortable, in the way that withdrawal is uncomfortable. And I had to learn to stay in the empty without immediately building a new blueprint to fill the space, which is the default response of a man who processes uncertainty by designing his way out of it. And in the empty, something was being placed in my hands that was not designed by me, and it fit differently than the blueprint did. Less like a plan, more like a vocation. And vocations don't come with timelines, they come with directions, one step at a time. And I held it without the blueprint, without the milestone markers, without the version of success I had designed. And I walked in the direction it pointed, and I've been walking for 2 years now. And what I built without the blueprint is better than what I designed. Let go of the blueprint, not the dream, the design. Trust God to build what He designed.
Let go.
Well, the blueprint, discover what's in His hands when yours are full of paper. Let go. Proverbs 16:9 says, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. And I read that as a permission slip for the planning and the surrender of the directing. And I've been doing both the planning and the directing, and leaving the Lord to fill in the spaces between my milestones, which is not what the verse describes. The verse says you plan and He directs, which means the steps are His, and the direction is His, and the timeline is His. And all I brought to the arrangement was the heart that was willing to walk the steps He placed. I folded the blueprint last spring and put it somewhere I'd have to look for it if I wanted it back. And I haven't looked, and now I'm further than the blueprint would have taken me.
Let go of the blueprint.
What He places is better.
Let go of the blueprint.
The steps are already His.
Let go.
Let go. What He builds is better than what I designed.
Let go of the blueprint.
He's got something better in your open hands. Let go.
Let go.
I want to tell you what it feels like, and the thing you were made for, and the life you've been given start to align, because I've spent time in both the misalignment and the alignment, and the difference is significant enough to describe. Purpose does not arrive with a press release or a clear announcement, or a moment where everything becomes suddenly obvious. It arrives gradually in the accumulation of the things you can't stop doing, even when they cost you. And the specific energy you feel when you're in it that you don't feel elsewhere. And the feedback from people who tell you that what you're doing is doing something to them that other things haven't. And you look back at the road you traveled, and you can see the shape of the preparation that you couldn't see while it was being made. And now look back at everything in this volume, the goodness declared and difficulty, the overcoming accumulated, the doubt weathered, the silence inhabited, the long pace maintained, the blueprint released, the man changed. And I see the shape of what it made me. I was made for this. That took the whole journey to say
I was made for this.
not the easy version, this version, the version that required everything I've been through to be capable of it.
I was made for this.
And I couldn't have received it
As the man I was
before the road made me the man who could hold it. I was made for this. I want to be specific about what I mean by purpose, because purpose, declared generically, is not useful to anyone. My purpose is not to be generally good or vaguely impactful or broadly meaningful. Those are adjectives, not purposes. My purpose is specific. It involves specific people in specific conversations and specific moments that require the specific combination of everything I survived and everything I learned and everything I was given and everything I was broken of in the years it took to become the man who could carry it. And nobody else has this specific purpose, because nobody else has this specific combination of equipped and broken and chosen. And that is not pride, that is the specific theology of Ephesians 2:10. Workmanship created for the good works He prepared beforehand for this specific person, which is me, which is you. And the works were prepared before the workman existed, which means the purpose was designed before the road that produced you was walked, which means the road was the preparation for the purpose that was already waiting.
I was made for this.
The whole journey was the making.
I was made for this.
Not the easy version, this one. And I couldn't have received it
Before the road made me capable of it.
I was made for this. This is what the whole catalog was building toward, from the muddy water baptism in Valhalla, to the weight carried to the altar, to the gap stood in for someone else, to the fire that knew the name, to the blueprint released, to the man changed, to the pulse found in the doubt. Every song was preparation for the specific version of you that can walk in the purpose that was prepared for you before you were prepared for it. And you are ready, not because you're finished, because you've been made into the version that can receive what was prepared while you were being made. Walk in it with everything the road gave you, with the scars that qualify you, with the testimony that arms you, with the change that proves the change is possible, with the accumulated Tuesdays of choosing differently.
Walk in it.
You were made for this.
You were made for exactly this.
I took the first steps a long time ago without knowing they were the first steps, which is how purpose usually works. You're in it before you recognize it, and you recognize it by looking back at what the steps were building toward. And I am walking in what they built, and the walking feels like what I was made for. And I wanna offer you the same recognition that I found on the road I didn't choose, but was chosen for.
I was made for this.
You were made for this.
You were made for this.
The road was the making.
Purpose was prepared.
Walk in it,
Walk in it.
made for this.
Grace wins. Grace always wins.
Made for this.
Made for this.
Made for this. I want to give you my credentials for what I'm about to declare, not to brag, but because the declaration only carries weight if you understand what qualified me to make it. I overcame the year I didn't think I'd make it to the other side of. I overcame the addiction that had a longer relationship with my body than any healthy thing I'd chosen. I overcame the failure that redefined every assumption I had about who I was and what I was capable of. I overcame the silence that stretched long enough that I started to wonder if the silence was the answer rather than the waiting room for one. I overcame the version of myself that was the most dangerous thing I'd encountered in any of the above, because the internal version was the one with access to everything.
And I am not standing here
saying I did those things,
I'm standing here
saying they were done in me by something larger than my own capacity. And the something is the whole testimony. I
came out the other side.
That's the testimony.
I came out the other side.
For what I showed you,
I came out the other side.
not because I was strong enough, because the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony are what Revelation says we overcome by, and I use both.
I came out the other side.
And I want to be clear about the tense of this, because tense matters in testimony. I am not someone who overcame past tense, completed action, finished. I am an overcomer. Present continuous still happening, because the overcomer is not a destination I reached. It's an identity I carry into every new thing that requires it, and new things keep requiring it. Which means the overcomer is not a retired title, it's an active one, and I wake up in it every morning and apply it to whatever the morning brings. Revelation 12:11 says, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Which means my testimony is not just a story I tell, it is a weapon I use in every subsequent battle that requires overcoming. I
came out the other side.
That's the testimony.
And the testimony is the weapon.
I came out
the other side.
not because I was strong enough, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of this testimony.
I came out the other side.
So hear me declare this as an overcomer, not as a man who once overcame something specific and is living on the legacy of it. As a man who carries the identity into tomorrow morning, whatever tomorrow morning requires. And if you are in the middle of something that the other side of is not yet visible, I want to tell you from the other side of mine, the other side exists, and it is reachable by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony, which is exactly what you're building right now in the middle of it. The overcoming is already in process. You just can't see the other side yet, but I can see it from here, and I'm calling it towards you. I put it on this morning like the armor before the day had an agenda. Said out loud to the mirror, I am an overcomer, and the mirror agreed. And I walked out into whatever the day was with the identity already in place.
I came out the other side.
Overcomer, still overcoming.
I came out the other side.
By the blood of the Lamb, by the word
Of the testimony.
overcomer. That's who I am, not past tense, present.
Still overcoming.
Still here,
Still coming out.
the other side. I wanna talk about the race that you're running right now, from the position of someone who tried to run it at sprint pace for a significant portion of it, and learn something about distance running the hard way. I entered the race at sprint speed because I had been told about the race, but not about the distance. And sprint energy applied to a marathon produces a very specific result around mile 8, which is not the finish line. I burned through what I had in the first third and stood in mile 8 with no pace left and a lot of race remaining. And the people who entered at sustainable pace were passing me at what looked like leisure, but was actually just the right speed for the distance. And I had to learn the difference between fast and sustainable, because fast impresses the crowd in mile 1, and sustainable is what finishes. The long way, still the way. That's what endurance taught me. The long way, still the way. Not slow, sustainable. Hebrews 12:1. Run with endurance, not run with speed. The race is set before you, not designed by you. And the pace it was designed for is not the pace of urgency. The long way is still the way. And the long way, finish it. The long way, finish it. I found my pace somewhere in year 3, after the sprint collapse and the recalibration, and a humbling education of watching slower looking runners pass me while I recovered. And my pace looks like showing up consistently without the adrenaline of urgency. It looks like progress that doesn't make headlines in any single day, but compounds into something significant over the years it takes to run this particular distance. And I stopped comparing my mile 8 speed to someone else's mile 1, which is the comparison that breaks most runners. Most runners quit because they're measuring the tired pace against someone else's fresh pace and drawing the wrong conclusion. The conclusion is never I am losing. The conclusion is we are running different miles. In my mile 8 at this pace, still the race, and the race was designed for this kind of running. The long way is still the way, not slow, sustainable. Run with endurance, the instruction, not to run with speed. The long way, finish it. The long way, finish it. The long way, finish it. Hebrews 12:1 says, we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. And I want to tell you what that means. On the long road and the miles nobody else can see you running. The grandmother who ran a race for 60 years in conditions that would have stopped a sprinter is in the cloud, and she is not impressed by your mile 1 speed. She is cheering your mile 23 pace, the one that nobody celebrates, because it doesn't look impressive from the outside. But she knows what it costs. She is in the cloud, cheering specifically. I run different now than I did in year 1. Less impressive per mile, more sustainable per decade. And I stopped apologizing for the pace that actually finishes. Some days it's fast, some days it's slow, some days it's just one foot in the other. And all of those days count the same distance, in the same direction, toward the same finish. The long way is still the way, still running, still in the race. The long way is still the way, the long way is still the way. Sustainable pace, sustainable faith, cloud of witnesses, cheering the long road. The long way finishes. The long way finishes. Still running, still here, still in the race, still in the race. I want to tell you about the gap between when the feeling stopped and when the life came back, because nobody writes about the gap. And the gap is where most people live longer than they expected to. I stopped feeling faith about 3 years before I stopped practicing it. And I wanna be honest about what kept me practicing without the feeling. It wasn't conviction, conviction requires feeling. It was habit, and I don't say that dismissively. Habit saved my life in those 3 years. I showed up to the practice the way a man shows up to physical therapy. after the nerve damage has removed the sensation. Not because it feels like anything, yeah. Cause he was told the movement produces healing, even when the healing cannot be felt, yeah. And I moved through the practice for 3 years in the absence of the feeling. And somewhere in the 3rd year, I checked for a pulse, the way you check when you've been caring for something that you're not sure is still alive. And there was a pulse
I did not expect, the pulse I didn't expect to find.
That's what faith feels like after the long doubt.
The pulse I didn't expect,
still there, still beating under everything that covered it for 3 years.
the pulse I didn't expect to find
Was there
when I finally checked.
Was there the whole time. Was there the whole time, yeah. And I wanna tell you what the doubt season taught me, that the believing season never could have. I learned that faith is not a feeling I maintain, it's a life I carry, and life continues without the awareness of it. The pulse doesn't require your perception to keep beating. I learned that God is not smaller in the seasons when he feels distant. He is simply in the part of the room that the feeling doesn't reach. And I learned that Thomas was in the room when Jesus appeared after the resurrection. Despite his doubt, he didn't remove himself from the community of faith because he had doubts. He stayed in the room in the doubt, and the resurrection came to the room he was in. And I've been staying in the room through all 3 years, and the resurrection showed up to the room. I was staying in, not after I cleaned it up, not after the doubt resolved, while I was still in it.
The pulse I didn't expect to find,
still beating under everything.
faith was there the whole time. I didn't expect
Was there.
when I finally checked.
I wanna be honest about where I am right now. Not in the 3-year gap, but not in the full feeling either. Somewhere between the gap and the full, which I think is probably where faith actually lives for most people, most of the time. And I used to think that meant something was wrong with me. Now I think it means I'm in the room where Thomas was, and the resurrection shows up to rooms like this. And the pulse that I check for is still there. I don't require the feeling the way I used to. I trust the pulse more than I trust the presence of the feeling, because the pulse was there in the 3 years when the feeling wasn't. And the feeling comes and goes, but the pulse has been continuous since I first found it. And continuous is the more reliable data point. The pulse I didn't expect, still beating,
Signs of life,
signs of life,
the pulse was there.
the whole time.
Signs of life,
Hey, faith after the doubt,
still here.
still beating,
The pulse was there,
the whole time.
still here.
I've been in the silence long enough to have an opinion about it that I didn't have when I entered it. Silence from God is the experience that breaks the most people and gets addressed the least honestly. I know what it feels like to pray into a room that does not respond with anything that the vocabulary of answered prayer can describe. I know what it feels like to say the words that are supposed to work, to bring the comfort that was promised, and to feel the words go up and come back as silence. And I sat in that silence for a season that was longer than I thought a season could be. And I wanna tell you what I learned there, because the learning was in the silence, not in the end of it.
The silence is not.
The absence of an answer.
The silence is one of the answers.
And I had to learn the difference between a God who isn't speaking and a God who is speaking in a frequency I hadn't learned to receive yet.
When the answer is quiet,
that is still an answer.
when the answer is quiet,
Presence without explanation.
He is in the silence.
Not behind it. The silence is where He is.
When the answer is quiet,
Learn to be still enough to hear what stillness holds.
learn to be still enough.
Job speaks in the silence for 37 chapters, and when God answers, He doesn't explain the silence. He asks questions that reframe the questioners, understanding of the scale of what they're dealing with. And I read that as someone who had been in silence and wanted the explanation, and I understood that the explanation was not what Job needed, and it's probably not what I needed either. What was needed was the encounter with the magnitude of the one who was present in the silence the whole time. And the encounter arrived not as an explanation, but as a presence that made the need for explanation less urgent than I thought it was. Because the question is not
Why was there silence?
the question is
Who was in the silence?
and the answer to that question changes what the silence means.
When the answer is quiet,
That is still an answer.
He is in the silence.
Not behind it. Learn to be still enough.
To hear what stillness holds.
I am not going to tell you that the silence is comfortable. I am not going to minimize the experience of praying into a room that does not respond in the ways you expected. What I will tell you is that the silence taught me something about the nature of the relationship that the answered prayers couldn't have taught. Because answered prayer can be received by a person who only wants the answer. But silence requires you to want the one who is in it, regardless of what he says. And the silence sorts out which of those you're actually seeking. And I came out of the silence knowing more certainly what I was seeking than I did when I entered it. I still ask for the answers. I still bring the specific requests, but I hold them differently now, with more room in my hands for whatever comes back, including the quiet. And the quiet no longer feels like absence. It feels like presence in a frequency I finally learned to receive.
When the answer is quiet,
He is still there.
He is in the silence, not behind it.
When the answer is quiet,
Be still enough.
to hear what stillness holds. He is there.
He is there. Ooh, ooh.
I wanna say something without the false humility that sometimes dresses itself as spiritual maturity and isn't
I changed.
significantly. The evidence is substantial, and I am grateful out loud about it. The man I was at 32 would not recognize the choices I made this Tuesday. The man I was at 32 had a different relationship with honesty that was more negotiable than the current version. Had a different relationship with the people who depended on him that was more intermittent than it should have been. Had a different relationship with the mirror that was either too critical or too blind, depending on which version was more convenient that morning. And I'm not rehearsing this as confession, I'm rehearsing this as evidence of a distance traveled that I want to acknowledge accurately. Because the church sometimes teaches us to minimize transformation in the name of humility, and I wanna suggest that accurately acknowledging what God has done in a man is not pride, it's testimony. And testimony is a weapon,
and I'm not
putting down my weapons.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
That's not arrogance, that's testimony.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
The distance is significant. The man I was at 32 couldn't have made it to this Tuesday by his own trajectory.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
And I am grateful out loud about it. The change didn't happen in a single moment. I've seen enough transformation claims to be skeptical of the overnight version. The change happened in the accumulated decision of 10,000 Tuesdays where I chose differently than the previous version would have chosen. And accumulation produced something that looks like a different man from a distance, and is a different man up close in the specific ways that a man is different when the inside changes rather than just the behavior. And I wanna give the credit to the one who started the work and kept the work going on the Tuesdays when I would've stopped it, left to my own initiative.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
That's testimony, not arrogance. The distance is significant. God did this work and I cooperated with it.
And you wouldn't recognize me
from back then. I called someone from the old life last month who knew the 32-year-old version, and she said, "You sound different." And I said, "I am different." And she asked what happened, and I talked for an hour. And that conversation is the testimony that Revelation 12:11 was describing. The word of my testimony as a weapon against the narrative that says people don't change. People change. I am the specific and documented evidence that people change when the right things get invited in and the wrong things get named and walked away from consistently over enough Tuesdays. I don't spend much time with the 32-year-old version anymore. I check in occasionally, the way you check in with a previous address, just to remember why you moved. And every time I check in, I'm more grateful for the distance and more committed to the Tuesday choices that keep the distance growing.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
Change, change, genuine change.
You wouldn't recognize me.
The testimony is the weapon.
You wouldn't recognize me from back then.
God did this, I cooperated. Change, 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 change. Out loud about it.